and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers everything from the Star Citizen website over the past week. Links can be found in the description to everything mentioned, so let's get on with it. So this week we have the monthly report, we have a letter from the chairman, we have 10 for the chairman, but in this case it's 10 for the writers, and around the verse as usual. So let's get on with it. So with the transition from October to November, we got another monthly report from all the studios. Now I've only picked out certain parts of it as some of it isn't relevant or, you know, we already heard. So kicking off with Santa Monica, we have the engineering department, and it says they have wrapped up the new paint system, which is going to be available in version 1.0, and this allows us eventually, I'm not sure if it's 1.0 for us, but allows the player to paint their ships and add decals, you know, customize the ships in that way. I think it's how they're going to use this paint system to make the ship paints and designs a lot quicker. Missile signatures, again, version 1.0 will be there. It masks our signatures, stealth gameplay. Again, you'll have signature management, so really more in depth again. They're also improving how the radar works, which it's going to be this 1.0 patch is going to be in itself, a game itself, and it's going to have some very cool aspects. You know, system managements are going to be a big part of this. So in the design for Santa Monica, they are balancing ships and weapons and items, which was for 13.2. They're working on future ship systems and gameplay, including electronic warfare, mid-flight repair, which is very cool. They're working on a better layout, for the Carrack as well, so apparently they weren't happy with that. So the art side of it, the interior and exterior of the Carrack are being worked on, as we know. We're working on the Cutlass and the Mustangs, and they're working on new weapons and items, again for version 1.0. So cinematics, they are working on a new commercial, which is character-driven with facial animations and models, character models, and that will be available at the end of the year. I'm not sure what ship it's for, but it sounds like it's going to be a really in-depth sort of, maybe something like the Redeemer, because if it's going to have character models, you know, we've seen the Redeemer come down, drop off some crew. Could be something to do with that, we don't know yet. So, Cloud Imperium Austin, the art department are working on the PU. They are working on Terra Prime, and as we know, they're going to make it just as good as Arc Core was. People are still working on Arc Core, so that wasn't a final product, what we saw in the PlanetSide demo, but it's going to look very cool. They're also working on NPCs and props, and research and development into a modular space station, which is very cool. So obviously, you know, with it being modular, you can have it for certain things like medicine, repair. Also, they said something like vacation resorts, military outposts, fuel depots, mining colonies, and much more, they say. They're starting on shop interfaces, so the whole sort of buying and selling, it'll soon be a reality, and hopefully it'll be face-to-face with the shopkeeper, and it won't sound like a robot. Designer working on the visual phenomena, and how they can use this to create interesting gameplay functions, you know, like nebulae, I suppose, asteroid fields, comets, electromagnetic storms, all sorts of stuff. And he did say there would be a surprise in there as well. What that means, I have no idea. So the subsumption AI systems are complete, which is to guide the NPCs in their daily routines. We all should see more of this next month. Now, whether or not that means November or December, I don't know. Hopefully November. Programming are working on the 64-bit conversion. They're making progress on it anyway, and I'm really excited about that. This I've said it before, Chris has said it before. It's basically, we're at 32-bit, going to 64-bit. The size of the maps will increase astronomically. The friend systems and low-level persistent functionality and chat systems and process managers have all had work begun on them. This is gonna, added support for quantum travel, and hangars are getting ready for the social module. So hopefully we'll be able to have like living rooms or lounges. I don't know what else we're gonna put in there, but all just different places for you to visit, you know. Foundry Fort 2. So, art for the military version Retaliator and the Gladiator are progressing well. The Vandal fleet is developing too, which is very cool. Obviously, we've seen the glaive. We're going to see other parts of the Vandal fleet. Components like weapon mounts, sizes, and modularity are being ironed out. The cockpit, I put cockpit for some reason. Cockpit and escape pods for the Starfarer are almost complete. I am so excited for the Starfarer. Really can't wait to see that beast. Graphics programming have started on fully volumetric gas shaders for maybe like gas giant clouds, explosions, etc. Again, it does dictate how well a game will look if the clouds or the explosions look naff, but I think clouds tend to be a big FPS eater. So, behaviour, they're working on getting the first working shop, as we mentioned before. Items sold are changed items sold and sort of in the shopkeeper's inventory will be changed via the economy. The full working economy will change things like that. They're working on the mobiGlas, which it sounds like it's coming along really well, does the mobiGlas. They're making an operating system, as we know, for it, and there'll be different apps. So you've got like your home app, your shopping app, your Explorer type map app. That was a bit of a silly way to say it. All different maps, like your scheduler as well. So you'll be able to schedule different things. If you've got someone saying, I need you here on this day, you can put that in your mobiGlas, just like having a phone with a calendar, I suppose. Also, they're overhauling hangar flare, it says, that they fit with the lore. So I assume things that don't really fit in with lore and more of a joke may be removed, and we'll have a new updated sort of hangar flare with them, I suppose. Art department are working on terror locations. As we know, this is the second landing location that we're going to receive. It's going to look just as good as Art Core. So many exciting things happen in Star Citizen now. I just cannot sleep at all, and it's driving my girlfriend insane. So engineering, they're almost done with the hangar room management system. Another exciting thing, just having your own little room to sit in. I'll be like, yeah, go and watch Coronation Street on your own. I'm sitting in here and listening to Avenged on my jukebox. Sad. Anyway, and this month's hangar flare, they gave a little clue, and it says something about set drunk level. They're having issues with that, but now they've fixed it. So I wonder if we'll have a little minibar or some alcohol that we can drink, where you can probably wander around your hangar drunk for a little while. Why we will do that, I don't know, but I know for a fact we will be wandering around our hangar drunk. So Turbulent, their programming side, have a project for November, which is called the PTU, and this is an acronym for Public Test Universe, which instead of sending out the patch to everyone to test at once and having a big brain fuck on all these servers, they're going to invite players. I assume it'll probably be, again, number of as to when you backed. Invite players to copy their accounts into the PTU server rather than roll out the patch. So you'll join this server. It's how they're going to test the PU, I expect, the alpha and so forth. And they started that this month. UX, I don't know what I mean, and design. Someone tell me what UX means. Is it FX? I don't know. Many sessions have been spent on building the star map, which is awesome, because that was one of the stretch goals. We wanted to see the star map as we know it. Hopefully it'll be like the holo table, where we can bring it up like we saw in the little demo they put on. I'll put it in this video, because hopefully it's not going to be too long video, but you can see it hopefully now if I've timed it well. Something like this. So the new home screen for the RSI website is being updated as well, so it's easier for new backers, new people to the website to see exactly what's happening. Yeah, so Moon Collider, they are working very closely with Foundry 42, Behaviour and Austin to ensure the AI slots in well with each module. So obviously they've got a big job. They've been going out to each office and just discussing, how to get it so that the AI works in every module. Very important job. Now, we did go to see Ilphonic. Now we know they're not redacted anymore, but all of theirs was about packs, so I've left that off. Every other office also had a lot of detail about packs and what they had to do for packs, but I didn't want to put it down on this because we've seen it, so it's pointless going back over it because we know what they've all done and they have achieved a great amount so far. So that's it for the monthly report. This week's 10 for the Chairman was not 10 for the Chairman, it was 10 for the Writers, which we met Dave Haddock and William Wiseborn, who are the lore builders, the people who write the stories behind the history of Star Citizen. They are responsible for all the lore we read about. And it was a nice sort of special edition of asking them a question. Now, I assume it was because Chris Roberts was probably too busy with being in Australia and so forth. But I didn't pick out all the questions. I only picked out 3. Mainly because the majority of them were about how they felt about, what they're most excited for with the lore, and it was all based around that rather than real game dynamics, which is what I'm more interested in. So, starting with the first question, will player-driven events like Operation Pitchfork affect the lore and become part of the history of Star Citizen? We've touched on this before, or Chris Roberts has, a while ago. And so for any new backers out there or new subscribers to our channel, yes is the answer. If you kill a certain pirate, like they mentioned Dread Pirate Roberts, then you will be forever known as the person who took him out. Also, jump points. If you find a jump point and you map that jump point, you can either obviously keep it for yourself, sell it, or release it to your friends or to everyone, but you get to name the jump point. I think that he said there'll be something in place that will stop you calling it Shitty Poo Head or something stupid, So there will be something in place to make sure that it isn't named a ridiculous name. What they mentioned also in passing, which really excited me, And I was at work the other day, and all I could think about was this. He mentioned about, maybe if you're the person who found the Artemis, you'll be known for that. And I'm thinking, he just sort of brushed that in there. Now, the Artemis, if you don't know, was, during the 23rd century, they sent out a ship of 500 human beings to try and find a planet that they can populate similar to Earth. This was obviously before we had found all the systems that we know of now. I think they were heading for something beginning with G, like Gillian or something. No, it's Killian, isn't it? Within the UE, the Banu Protectorate or the Jan, whatever it's called, something like that, around there. But it never made it. It set off, and contact was lost, and there was never ever any news from them. I think it was supposed to be a 200-year journey. But yeah, so to me, I just thought, so if that's likely, then are we going to be able to find clues in the persistent universe as to its whereabouts and eventually find it? I have read the lore on the Artemis. There are pieces that have been found, and one of them's in a museum in London. In fiction, please don't go down to London and look in a museum for this item. There was also a planet, I think Osso, or a system called Osso, where the natives of this planet, who are very, I suppose the only word I can think of is prehistoric, which doesn't make any sense. They're not up to date with things, that apparently they are worshipping a piece of this ship, and they have been taught certain things like how to build fires and things from these humans that went missing. So there are clues as to where they may be, and there is a piece of lore written about it. I'll put a description in. I'll put it in the description so you can read it. Now I'm thinking what I want to do is I want to buy myself a reclaimer when I get into the persistent universe. So this will be a way ahead. I'll buy a reclaimer and I'll need a crew, hopefully around 10 to 12 people who rotate the pilot, the navigator, using your sensors and so forth, and then the other crew can be maybe armed guards to help, and maybe a couple of hornets attached to the docking collars so that we can protect ourselves. And I would like to go off and look for this. I would try and keep it on the lowdown. I mean, obviously I'm doing a YouTube video now and telling you what I'm going to do, which is stupid, but I'm going to keep it on the lowdown and not try and let as many people, when the time comes, know that we're doing this, and just sort of use the reclaimer as our shield, our cover, so that it will pay our way around, and whatever we reclaim, we'll split between us all. But I want to go and follow these clues and see if we can be the people to find the reclaimer. Shout me up if you're interested. It won't be happening anytime soon. Obviously, the Persistent Universe Alpha is out next year at the end, so it'll probably be 2016 by the time anything really comes of it. Plus, I don't have a reclaimer at the moment. But yeah, I'm really excited to go off hunting for this ship. Anyway, the next question, I did kind of digress, was do the Persistent Universe devs consult with the lore team, regarding whether or not things in the lore will end up in the Persistent Universe? And he says that yes, basically 95% of all the lore that is written matches the Persistent Universe. So if you've read something, the chances are you will see that, or there will be evidence of that within the Persistent Universe. It's not just like, we say this because it sounds good. The devs are actually going to put that into the Persistent Universe, like the Artemis, for example. So, next question after that was, will in-game events unfold in real time? For example, a war spanning 3 months in lore, will the players experience this 3 months in real time? Basically, no. The way it's working, like most games, if you have a day-night cycle, it's going to happen where there will be a day in Star Citizen will be much quicker than a day in real life, because obviously it can get very frustrating if you are joining in. If you can only play at a certain time on a certain week or a certain day, you are never going to see the nighttime, or you're never going to see the daytime or sunset. It just leaves it far too open. So I think Chris Roberts did mention something around the lines of 4 times the speed. I know my Skyrim game, using the command key, I have it set to 4 times the speed, so a day will last a good sort of 6 hours or something like that. But I reckon it will be between sort of 4 and 8. Any more will be too quick, any less will just be too tedious. But that was it for 10 for the Writers. Again, if you're interested in the lore or interested in David Haddock or William Weisbaum, really do watch it. It is interesting. And there was obviously about 7 more questions that I've missed off. So check it out. So, a new letter from the chairman with some new screens of a different variation of the Herald. Basically, they can't decide whether or not to have it with the asymmetrical or as a proper symmetrical style ship. I believe people have probably complained saying it looks a bit ridiculous, and I don't know. But anyway, the choices are, I'll put the pictures up, is whether we want this one or the other one, which you can see. So he wants us to decide, which is nice. It's good. So we reached 60 million, which means we got the Aegis Bulldog class twin-engine deep space fighter. I won't read out the blurb from it because I did that last week, so if you want to know what it is, check it out on the website. I'll put a link in the description below. And with the drama of last week's ships polls, the results shifted after the poll had basically finished. With that in mind, Chris Roberts decided, after reading some posts on the forums, that he will offer both the ships that were coming in first or second for the next 2 stretch goals. So that means that for 61 million we get the boarding ship, and 62 million we get the transport ship, the public transporter ship. So with the rest of the ships, all the ships that have been eliminated over these polls, he's bringing them back for one final round where you get to vote for whichever one. So if you missed out on one, get voting back, just like what they did in the next great starship. So with that said, 61 million will grant us the S.M.B Prowler. And this is named after the UPE military designation. The Prowler is a modernised version of the infamous Tavarian boarding craft from the First Tavarian War. You can read up on that on the Star Citizen wiki. With the recent discovery of the lost Tavarian planet in the Cable system, S.M.B's engineers were given unmitigated access to examine the preserved ships found in several of the caches, before meticulously creating the design choices. The Prowler's effectiveness as a rapid personal deployment vehicle was mainly due to its silence. The boarding was constructed using a variety of techniques to minimise its signatures and get close to unsuspecting vessels before quickly deploying their boarders via EVA. With the updated Prowler model, you will find the perfect fusion of 2 culture. The elegance and effectiveness of the Tavarian war machine combined with the reliability of modern UE technology. While lacking some of the upgrades of the modern version, vintage Tavarian built Prowlers restored for modern spacecraft are prized by owners lucky enough to locate them. So this explains a little bit about how boarding might work. It sounds like it's going to be able to sneak up to these vessels and then deploy your boarders EVA style. Now I would have thought it would be more like you cling on to them using some sort of magnetic device and then cut a hole, or maybe, but I suppose if you're wanting to take the ship without any damage, you don't want to cut a hole, but maybe if you can, override their systems for docking with the docking collars, then I would have thought that would be a better way of getting through. So because if you EVA up to a ship and you can't get in, you're gonna have to fiddle around with it, and they've got these big guns that they could fly off. I don't think EVA is probably the best way. Unless, obviously, in this case, it'll be sneaky EVA, because they won't even know you're there. It'll be interesting to see how it works, because if you've got a smaller ship and you see one of these boarding things coming, you're going to know they're coming for you, aren't they? But anyway, the next ship for 62 million is the passenger liner. Now, it's called the Genesis-class Starliner. And Genesis is yet another landmark in Crusader Industries' proud history of transport designs. So, we just heard of S.M.B, and now we have Crusader Industries. Be interesting to see the history behind this, as they often put up different histories for different manufacturers. So anyway, this ship utilises award-winning manufacturing techniques and the highest quality parts to create one thing: a next-generation passenger ship at a price that won't break your budget. Crusader Industries' proprietary Neo-G engine technology offers some of the most effective flight for a ship of its size. The Genesis line has been cited as Whiteley's, which is the sort of guide to ships, as one of the most reliable and safe public transport ships on the market. Genesis Starliners are available in a number of stock configurations, focusing on everything from passenger capacity to freight to overall comfort. The UAE military operates multiple Genesis conversions for support roles, including SWACs and Starflight test operations. So very cool, very interesting idea for the ships. It's again, it's a very module ship, like the Carrack, I think. I'm probably wrong with that. Or the Caterpillar, sorry, where you can swap out for different functions. It sounds like it might be a very, very big ship. And to me, I voted for this one because the appeal of being able to just go from planet to planet without even flying is interesting. I suppose it's like getting a taxi in Grand Theft Auto. It can be very boring and very pointless, but it's a nice novelty, and I think over time people might get used to it. It'll be a good, because you can't, if you leave your ship at one place, you have to go somewhere else. You're not going to have your ship, so you'll have to get back to the ship or have someone bring it over to where you are. So using this passenger Starliner, plus if you're in space and you see these huge passenger ships going past, it'll be very immersive with the whole aspect of it being a real living and breathing world. So that was it for the letter from the chairman. The new ship poll has 5 different ships, which obviously are the ones that have lost out in the previous polls. The first one, A, is a search and rescue ship, currently at 17%. The B is a mine layer and minesweeper at 15%. There's a salvage tug at 15%, a recon craft at 23%, and then the third starter ship at 31%. So, if it goes as the way it's going now, the third starter will be the next one we see. Anyway, that's it for Letter from the Chairman. So, Around the Verse, number 19, presented by Ben Lesnick, and this time James Pugh, as apparently Sandy Gardner was in UEE custody. Well, I'm sure we'll hear about that later on. News from Around the Verse, starting with Arena Commander. Obviously, we know now the 0.9.2 patch, or 13.2, is released. There's also the new, not now, but coming soon, they'll be working on the cockpit update, where all those little panels that we see that aren't being used, they're just sort of, you know, placeholders, they are going to be revamped and made to look useful, and, well, will be useful. The first translation for Arena Commander has happened, and it's in French, and then later on they'll introduce other languages. And Behaviour have been working on the lobby system, which we'll see in version 1.0. This patch is going to be huge, and I think it's coming at the end of this year, so that's good. So, Squadron 42. Multi-crew research and development is underway. The test ship, or the test level they're using, is the Idris. Hopefully, and they did say we'll see that in the near future, but hopefully it'll be the Idris that we get to play on. I am so excited for that ship, it's unbelievable. Moon Collider have been working on the FPS for the AI and slotting it into place with Squadron 42 as well. So Persistent Universe, the shop interface, which has character designs and visual effects, are being done. They're working on the new mining system, or the mechanic. They're expanding that, as obviously we have the Shuban mining base. They're going to make it a bit more personal rather than a big huge enterprise, so we'll be able to mine ourselves, obviously. The NPC AI is ongoing for the Persistent Universe as well. I'm sure they're implementing them into the bar staff and the people we'll see down there, like vagrants and so forth. Ships now. So for Foundry 42, they are working on the next 6 Vandal fleet. We know of the Blade and the Cleaver. I'm sure we'll hear about them sooner or later. The Avenger variants have been concept locked, so they know what they're doing with the Avengers. Starfarer and Caterpillar. They are leaving concept and now moving to white boxing. The Caterpillar, to me, is one of my most exciting ships. The whole modular idea is fantastic, of having a little, I don't know, the flight deck that can detach from the main hull. Very, very nice idea, that is. And apparently the Starfarer will be used in the intro to the Squadron 42 missions. So when we first load up that Squadron 42 Mission 1, we'll see the Starfarer in use. So after that, they went to a little video clip for the behind the scenes of PAX. Now, it was all pretty much the usual stuff, you know, seeing Chris Roberts chatting to people, seeing a bit of the setting up and all the people that were there, but there was a little sneak peek of the medical mechanic and how it will work. You know, you've got the drag mechanic and then you've got the little spray. I'll put up the video of what was there. Very, very cool. I'm very excited to see this, because this will play a big part in the game, because obviously you don't want to lose a life, because if you do, you won't get that life back, so you need to be revived. So after that, we went to Will. His MVP this week was to do with all the lore that has been written for Star Citizen has been converted to EPUB and Kindle format, so you can now take it with you wherever you want to go, and I do that with mine. I have it on my iPad, a lot of the lore and so forth. So once we'd finished with Will, we moved to Mark Bent and his Bug Smashers, and this week it was to do with the 315p, and it was in the multiplayer only, where the chrome textures of the 315p wasn't showing up, so he's gone through how he fixes that. To me, I don't really tend to watch them because I have no idea what he's talking about, and I have no intentions of learning that, but if you're into this tech side of it all, I would watch it. So the interview was with Daniel Kamensky, who is a 3D artist, and he actually came from Shimapan, the TNGS, the Next Great Starship, who created the Brutus, and he was taking questions from the community, so if you're interested, check him out. Now, they mentioned next week there will be a minor patch to sort of just relieve some of the nagging issues. I don't know what it is. That's coming soon. So the sneak peek, which is always the most exciting part of Around the Verse, is rows and rows of weapons, all the different firearms we're going to see. And obviously this isn't all of them, but there's so many that they've shown already, and these look like assault rifles. And then right at the end, as you can see, there was the ship. I don't know which ship it was. It was the cockpit of some ship, a multi-crew ship, with a huge visibility from the front, and it seemed like a 2-level thing as well. So I have no idea what that is, but I'm very excited to find out. So a short one for Around the Verse. Let's move on. So this week we had another lore builder. If you don't know what it is, lore builder is basically where the developers and the community come together and try and flesh out the world of Star Citizen, its history, its products, you know, like its beverages, the weapons that they use, everything to do with Star Citizen. They come on and they ask our advice, well, not our advice, they ask our opinion, you know, what do we believe, what would we like to see, and how would we like to see them. Very, very nice of them to do so. So if you have voted for certain things, you know, it's because of you guys that we are seeing things. So this one I found particularly interesting, and it was quite apt, obviously, after we've just had the FPS demo. It's about gravity and about artificial gravity within the ships or within space stations. They've named it LAG as an acronym. It's Localized Artificial Gravity, and the way they explain it in 3 parts. The first part, I'll read it from the website, is Particle Generator, and it says, as featured in the FPS demo, the heart of any lag system will be the core generator. The device converts energy from the power plant to gravitons. These particles don't create gravity on their own, but instead are the fuel that allows the grav plates to do so. The size of the area that needs artificial gravity dictates the size and or number of generators. So a station like we saw in the Gold Horizon in the FPS demo could have a single large generator, which was that big ball that we saw floating around, which you turned off, or it could have multiple redundant generators. So I suppose if you want certain areas of the space station with gravity, you would have to go off to each area and boot them up again. So number 2 is piping. Now, the gravitational elements created by the generator are transported throughout the ship, or station by a piping system. If the piping system gets destroyed or cut off, the areas it's sending gravitons to will lose lag, the gravity basically. Also, if the generator stops producing gravitons, gravity wouldn't necessarily shut off immediately. Instead, lag would continue to be produced for a few seconds until the gravitons in the piping were consumed. So like liquid coming through a tube. So the next part, number 3, is grav plating. The gravitons are fed by the piping system into the grav plating that line the floor of the ship or the station. Constructed of a special material, the grav plating, when exposed to the gravitons, emits an artificial gravitational field, which they need a name for, so if you can think of a name for that artificial gravitational field, put it on the forums, that acts similarly to a natural gravitational field, but differs in a few key ways. One way is that the thickness of the hull and the stations are designed to obviously block cosmic rays. They are also able to prevent the artificial gravity field from escaping into space. So in most instances, these grav plates are installed under the floor on maybe like industrial areas. They will be the floor themselves. So this is really cool. So when you're on your ship, you'll have your generators, your gravity generators, which are allowing you to walk around the ship fine, you know, as if with a real, you know, natural gravity like Earth. What's causing that? So you'll have the generators, and then the generators will supply the ship with a piping system on the floor, underneath the floor, mostly on ships. I expect there will be certain grav plates which allow this lag or this artificial gravity to kick in. So if you're boarding somewhere and say someone's held up in the hull, if you're outside the door of the hull, you can probably destroy or stab or pierce the piping outside the door that's feeding the hull, and the hull will lose gravity. I don't know, I wouldn't have thought all the ship will lose gravity, but obviously a lot of it will be released through the hole that you've just created, but the rest of the ship behind that, it's basically like an electrical circuit board. You stop one area, it'll just not go that far, you know. So again, gameplay will play a big effect in this. If you go onto a space station and you find the piping, you can destroy the piping and stop that area. So you've got 3 general parts. You've got your generator, your piping, and your grav plating, all of which can probably be destroyed, maybe be upgraded. Another cool system within the ship. Let me know your thoughts on that. Let me know if it makes sense to you, if you can think of a name, or if you can help. Get on the forums, get on the post, and tell them. I'll put a link in the description. So also this week we had the Gladius Work in Progress post, which I'll show some pictures of the Gladius now. Also we had the Advocacy Archive, which was titled Catch and Release. I am still to read that, so I have no idea what it's about. There was a new fan spotlight called Translations, and it's all the different Star Citizen fan sites, websites. There was a radio in all the different languages. You've got Spanish, you've got French, you've got German. And also Chris Roberts was interviewed on ABC News while in Australia, and the interview was actually a very well put out interview. It wasn't, sometimes when the people interviewing don't understand what it is they're talking about, like this girl didn't seem to understand what it was, usually it becomes awkward, but it was a nice way of putting it across, and Chris, as always, represented himself very well. Now, finally, the last post on the Star Citizen website over the week was Test Drive the M50. So, if you've ever wanted to get into the dedicated racer, the Origin M50, now is your chance. Get in there, get it tested, get some practice in on the race. I've had one race in it, and I managed to come third after dying twice, and it was very difficult, but it's simulated, so it's like a space race sim. So, you know, you've got to be good at it. Right, so that's your lot for this week's Star Citizen Sunday. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to leave me a comment if there's anything I've missed out, anything I've got wrong, or anything you just want to say. Like the video if you did, dislike it if you didn't. Don't forget to subscribe for the next week's Star Citizen Sunday, and I'll see you in the verse.